Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. Thank you for joining me today. Hi, good to see your faces. Happy to see you here. And welcome to this initiation on Virgo. This is a meditation for Virgo new moon, even though particularly today the sun and the moon both are still in Leo. But I'm just following up with the cycles of the teachings with the initiations and the archetypes. So I'm not the typical astrologer in that sense, and not an astrologer at all. Basically, I'm just very interested in the archetypes. And I also want to note that it was a year ago that my intuition told me to do these meditations at least for a year. And this meditation marks the ending of that cycle. So I'm feeling a completion in one sense, and at the same time, a new beginning emerging as one layer of these archetypes have been studied and integrated. And I feel that now that I was studying, it was the Virgo full moon that I started with last year, and I already acquainted myself with the teachings from this perspective, from the perspective of transmitting these energies instead of just receiving them from Taki or John. And so I'm already noticing a deepening in the integration and in the understanding of the energies that are involved. And I'm excited. I'm actually excited about that. And let's see. And so Virgo is our theme today. And as usual, I'm going to go into the esoteric theory first. And then we'll go into our guided journey. And then there's some time to be together, to share, to be witnessed, to ask questions or anything like that. So feel free to share at any point. Just so you know, I am recording this session, and this recording will be posted on Avatar, a Facebook group that is dedicated to these teachings, and also Nikila Temple Facebook page, and on my email list to those who have registered. So not all of them, but who have registered and want to receive the recording. So that said, let's dive in. I already posted some information about Virgo from the perspective that I'm learning to know this year, and that basically the essence of Virgo is that it is the divine mother of the soul. And that mother is the personality. It is the matter that is holding soul. And so it's not just this physical flesh, this body holding the soul and the Christ consciousness, but also the emotional and mental layers of our matter. And so this brings us to the continuation on the soul developmental path, where in Leo, the soul the soul for the first time was able to become self-conscious and an individual, a separate entity, separate being from the mass consciousness that was experienced in Cancer. And it is through this process that when the illumined mind, that is the keynote of Taurus, that also has to do with Mercury and with the intellect, was carried down to the mass consciousness, to the instinctual level, this instinctual wisdom, instinctual intellect starts to, or instinctual nature starts to develop into intellect in Leo, and then from Leo onwards in Virgo, it transforms and transmutes into wisdom. And I just get goosebumps and just this shivers in my body when I start to understand the depths of this mystery, and that has to do with the synthesis of the three feminine aspects. And that is that, well, there are many stories about Eve and the Eden and Adam and all that. But basically, I'm not going to go into the Christian story at all, but just focus on the esoteric point of view of that story. And that is that Eve is the symbol of the mental nature of the soul, of the divinity. And it is said that through this aspect of feminine, the human experience, human mind was attracted to the knowledge, the intellect. And that intellect needs to be experienced, incarnated, and expressed. And so and it also experimented on. And so this resembles the process of having the idea of the soul, and then bringing it into the experimental level of the emotional layers. And Isis stands for that emotional plane. Isis is the next step on the evolution of the feminine aspect. And so on that plane, the intellect is tested from the emotional perspective. And both of these levels or planes or stages, the soul is not visible, it's not there yet. And this is depicted as the Eve not having a child at all in her arms. And Isis is pregnant, and Isis is the great mother, and stands for motherhood and fertility, and stands as the guardian of the child. But it is only through the aspect of the feminine of Mary, or my archetype of Mary, that the process comes down to the physical plane and into the incarnation, that the child and the mother are one. They are together, they're here in the physical form. And these represent the unity of spirit and matter. And that wisdom is soul. The wisdom or the intellect that is maturing into wisdom is actually the instinctual animal nature maturing into soul wisdom, and them meeting each other and uniting. And this is where heaven on earth can be realized. And that requires the transition from a materialistic lifestyle or way of life to a spiritual life. And in this life or choice of lifestyle, what helps is the energy of endurance that the Virgo brings with it. This is the soul's will to be and will to stand. And this is what helps us to go through the emotional layers in our daily lives and the triggers that we go through, and still choose love. We still choose Christ consciousness, the soul, whatever you want to call it. And I also want to talk about the planetary rulers of this sign, because they are related to this process of the synthesis of the feminine aspects. And so Mercury is the planetary ruler on the personality level. And Mercury is the messenger of gods. It's the messenger between the higher and lower mind. Again, intellect. Lower mind meaning the undeveloped human, the animal nature, and then the higher mind, which is the soul. And it also brings in the change from analytical and critical mind to revelation and illumination. And this is happening on the mental plane. On the esoteric level, on the soul level, the planetary ruler is Vulcan. And actually, Vulcan is hidden behind the moon. This is because Vulcan represents the first ray energy, which is the will of God. And in this sign, in the teachings, it said that it is the will of God to express itself in matter. And so the moon represents the matter. And on the hierarchical level, the third planetary ruler is Jupiter. And Jupiter brings in the energy of love wisdom. So we have the will of God and the love of God. And how these come together is through Mercury, which also brings in the energy of harmony through conflict. And this brings or reveals the third aspect of divinity, the active intelligence or abundance, however you want to call it. In my experience, it's both, depending on the focus that I have with that energy. What else I wanted to share about this is that personality integration becomes very essential in this archetype, because it is only through an integrated and functioning personality, person as a whole functioning, that the expression of the third aspect of divinity, the active intelligence, is possible. So we are now going to go into the journey. Maybe I just want to add one more piece, and that is that the relationship to Pisces, as it is the opposite sign or the polar opposite. And it is that even though it is in Capricorn that the Christ child is born into an initiate. So we're going to go through some testing in the following months in order to become initiate. But it is Pisces that is the polar opposite, and Pisces is the mediumistic and psychically or psychic archetype, and it is very fluid and sensitive and temperamental archetype as well. And how these two balance each other out is that Virgo brings in the introspection and the intellect and the certain kind of analysis before it becomes wisdom, and it brings or it fuses that intuition and mediumistic skills of the Pisces, and that turns into wisdom. Yeah, it's so exciting actually to realize how these different signs and archetypes work together and how they are influencing each other. And yeah, in order to fully integrate each archetype, in each case, the polar opposite is playing an essential role in terms of the idea that the whole point is that there are two polar opposites, and we're not gonna, instead of spending our lives coming back or going back and forth between those polar opposites, we stand in the middle and we let the life flow through us. And that is the narrow path that is meant by in the teachings, that we are holding all of the human experience all together in our awareness and as the one life. And I invite you to find a posture and a position and a place in the space that you're in that resonates to you the most at the moment, that helps you find safety in your body and in your place, and comfort, so that you're not agonizing or making it into a performance, but rather an exploration, a revelation of things that maybe whatever you need to know at this point of incarnation. And as the personality integration is such a huge part of this particular archetype, we're gonna start with that. And first of all, I'm just inviting you to notice all the things that go through your mind right now on the personality level. What's active in your mind, or even in your emotions or physical body. Take note of physical sensations that may draw your attention to themselves. However, or whatever those physical sensations may be. See if you can breathe more into them. See if you can invite more breathing air into them. Give, and through that breathing, give space to those parts of your physical body to speak to you. What's present in your experience right now? Also notice if you're holding your breath. And is there anything active at the moment? Any tension, hyperactivity, any pattern that you may be looping right now, or you have been looping over the past week or so? Anything that has made you uncomfortable or tense or irritable or just wanting to space out, or anything that gives you brain fog, or whatever that, let's call it a trigger maybe, or a reaction to trigger. Then when you realize or become aware of that reaction in your being, in your experience, name it for yourself and let it become alive in this moment. What is the reaction that you've visited the most recently? Name it out loud and then describe it for yourself to hear how it feels in your body. What kind of sensations does it create? What kind of thoughts does it create? And let those reactions, those sensations and thoughts and that emotion or emotions, let them flow now for a 1 minute, just 1 minute. Let yourself become aware of what's happening in your system when this is active in you, and realize that it is a pattern, it is a complex. also notice the behaviors that are created around this complex or pattern, not just within your own experience internally, but also in relation to other people and the world. When this loop or pattern or complex is active in you, what is it trying to achieve? What is the goal that it is trying to achieve, or the purpose that it's trying to meet or need that it's going to trying to meet in you? Or even what is the fear that it is doing its everything to avoid from feeling or happening? Once you have it, let yourself name it and let your body express it. Let yourself become aware of that. And is there a sense of fear or shame related to this objective goal that the pattern or complex is trying to achieve? If there is, let yourself feel that fear in your body for the next minute, just 1 minute. And notice that anxiety, notice that tension, paralysis even. However, one of those or both of those feelings, fear or shame, express through you, and let that feeling tell you what is it about? What is the fear about while you are feeling it, embracing it, holding it, giving it space to speak. You're listening to it. If it supports you, you can call on the will to be of the soul to be here in this experiment, in this uh, experience and this expression of the emotional and physical and mental planes. And then you can let go of that feeling, knowing that it was heard, it was given space, and that it's not you. You are not that feeling, but you hold space for that. Does it remind you of any memories, whether those memories be visual or audible or somatic memories, or however memories come to you? Does it bring up any experience from your past that uh, may be the originating one for this pattern and this complex and this fear or shame? Or if there is just an emotional knowing that this kind of thing has happened at some point repeatedly, then just let that come to you as well. And then I invite you to look at that pattern or complex of yours, that loop that you find yourself in quite often. And ask yourself, as a soul looking at it, what am I meant to learn from this? What am I meant to learn from this? And when you have it, name it for yourself. Let yourself feel. Let it become visceral in your experience. Seeing that part of your personality as a soul, learning from it. And how does this lesson change your life from now on? As now you are aware of this lesson, it also calls on responsibility. And that responsibility means that you do not shut your eyes anymore. Once you've seen it and once you've become aware of it, there's no turning back. And although you don't have to come up with any answers through your mind, necessarily, even though the answers may come through your mind as well, through your consciousnesses. And it may also come through your body, your emotions. What is it that you are changing, whether it is something that you are adding to your life, or if you're somehow changing something in your surroundings or in your own behavior, let that be known to yourself. And then I invite you to take another look at that pattern or loop or complex that you've been experimenting with and experiencing with today. and also expressing today. And take a look behind it or underneath it. What is it hiding? What is behind that pattern or complex? It can be an emotion, feeling, a thought, a behavioral pattern that was not somehow accepted. It can be an energy. What did you suppress and repress? For a good reason, of course, but we want to be curious. What's there to be brought home to wholeness so that your personality can serve the soul as a more whole unit and vehicle. Once you have that, name it out loud for yourself and let that hidden part fill you. Let that take the space of your matter. Move you, make any sounds. How does it breathe you? How does it look like, sound like, taste like? Give it some time to express itself. Another minute. And with that, let your soul feel into whether this is the home, whether this is the mother that holds the child. How can both the loop, the pattern, the complex that we were exploring, and the hidden part behind that, how can they open up more to receive the soul more, to hold? How does that opening feel like in your physical body and in your emotions? What kind of thoughts does that invoke? There's no need to change anything. There's no right or wrong with this one. Just invite yourself to become aware of the layers of your personality that become present when your soul is invited in, when your soul is protected by this part of your personality. And what is the relationship like between your personality and soul? Is the soul willing to be held by these parts of you? And is the personality willing to open its arms? And if your personality is willing to open up and receive the soul, the Christ child, let it land into your body, into your womb, whether that womb is physical or energetic. Everyone has at least energetic wombs, regardless of gender. And let that light of Christ germinate and gestate in your womb. However you connect to your energetic womb. Just setting the intention may be enough. Let yourself drop into the silence and even, or maybe the throbbing of the womb, the heartbeat. Slowing down, sinking and descending. Through all those layers of thoughts and emotions and physical sensations into that one life. That abundant creativity that holds everything and nothing together in the womb. sensing the strings, the threads that connect all the things in life together. More intelligently than any human mind can fathom. Allow yourself to sense through your physical senses that weaving of that intelligence. And the connections that your being is woven into on this material plane. Sense the interconnectedness of all life. The soul calls via rising sign. The heart must be protected. Yield. The heart must be protected. Yield. And the pledged disciple responds, I am the mother and the child. I, God, I matter am. I am the mother and the child. I, God, I matter am. Sense the reorganization of your matter through this activation. Sense the unification of the different fragmented parts of your being. And sense how the child, the soul in your womb is protected. It is not secret. It is growing. The same soul shine that we discovered in Leo is now landing into matter, growing, fusing with matter. And finding its way to experiment, experience, and express the knowledge, the intellect, and develop that into wisdom. Give yourself the permission to explore, to let this process be revealed, and in turn itself reveal whatever jewels or diamonds are there for you in store there to them to be revealed to you over time. To find a completion for this meditation that is suitable for your body, not needing to, there's no need to let go of anything, but rather just cultivate this sense of gestation today and in the coming time. What is there that can deepen that process of being birthed? and realizing the sacred mission and task that the personality has, no matter how broken it is, as long as it is together and whole, pieces together, no matter how broken they may be. If there is a movement that your body wants or needs at this point, let it have the space, or any sounds or stretches. And when you're ready, I invite you back to our shared space on the screen. This concludes our guided part today, and I invite you to take the new moon offering with you to the land, and whatever is there to gestate, to give it to the land, to the universe, for nurture, not just for yourself, but for the whole of humanity. Thank you for joining me today. And we still have time for sharings, anything that wants to be said or expressed in other way than words, then that is also welcome. I actually want to share my own experience that I had with Virgo yesterday. And that was that through a trigger on a Friday, I spiraled into this emotional turmoil, and I knew that it was just emotional reaction. And it took me 2 days to get into the root of it. And that was essentially it was the abandonment and the existential fear that I would not exist. That the anxiety that came was about the personality being afraid that it would not exist. And once as I knew that that is something that keeps repeating, I allowed myself to feel that and ask myself, what is the purpose or the objective that it's trying to fulfill with that? Is that it's trying to get me home. It's trying to get me back home to the source. And once I realized that, I let go of the resistance that I had. That like, hell no kind of way. I let go of that, and immediately the everythingness of life just flooded my being, my experience. And it helped me realize that no matter how traumatic our histories may be, all those wounds are our portal to one life, to the spirit. And this is how broken a personality I am at the moment. And still it is the personality that holds the soul and the one life. And I just want to share that in case there's somebody who thinks that, oh, I'm not good enough, I'm not there yet, or I still need to do this and do that. And yeah, it's everything is right here, right now, available. Is there anyone else wanting to share? I took the stage. There is a question, how do you understand the mantra, the heart must be protected, yield? That's a really good question. And I actually did not have the answer until I shared this story with you just now. and that is that my understanding through this experience is that the whole point is that we're not here to protect the heart from heartache or trauma or bad things from happening. But it is about surrendering. Yielding is about surrendering to everything that is possible in human experience. And the heart is not protected from the outer world, but it is protected by surrendering it to the one life, to the human experience. I hope I can formulate that into words well enough so that I can convey that message, what I had in my experience. That we as people have the tendency to close our hearts to protect ourselves from something, whatever that may be for each of us. And it's not about that. It's about letting that one life, letting that soul shine through that heart. And how that happens is through opening the heart, which is counterintuitive. And that happens through yielding, which means surrendering, in my understanding, in my experience. Letting go of that fighting, letting go of that resistance. And then we can realize that the mother and the child are one, and I am that. I am God, I matter am. And I also want to add a disclaimer that this is me speaking at this point of our stage of development. Obviously, there are people who have a different version of it. But yeah, just so that I don't develop karma that this is the truth. No, this is not the truth. This is my truth at the moment. So also my question goes to you, that what does it mean to you?
What you just said resonated a lot, really deeply. And thanks for that question, Arthur. I had that in mind before, that what did that mantra mean, but I had forgotten about it. So I'm very glad that the question came and the way you explained it. It really touched me very deeply. And I found a kind of a connection also to the process that I went through the pattern that I was working on. And when I came there, then, you know, what this is trying to show me is that, you know, I mean, I'm so much hiding my vulnerability, and the kind of, yeah, the surrendering part of me. You know me, Raisa, for a long time, so I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. That it's been pretty amazing last month or something, what's been happening, and in a way I've been forced to surrender, but I'm so glad that I have done that, and many things have opened up, and it's like just can't explain it, but it's yeah, it's scary at the same time, and then at the same time it's great.
Yeah.
But it was really good that you shared your story in many ways, so thank you very much for that.
Thank you for sharing that.
To cry.
Tears are also welcome.
Yeah, it's kind of moving, and at the same time it's joy. I can't even say what it is. But, I need to open the door, it's really hot in here.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. I really appreciate you for joining me, especially on such short notice, and I wish you no more blessings. There are still many days to come that we can explore these energies. So I hope you enjoy. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Raisa.